Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video, and today I want to talk for a bit about the New Orleans Pelicans. Last year was kind of a weird season for the franchise. The year prior, they managed to make the playoffs despite Zion missing the entire season and gave the Suns a really tough first-round matchup. A Suns team that won a franchise record number of games. They ultimately fall. Then last year, they start off really hot. They were the 1 seed 26 games into the season, the 3 seed 44 games in, so they were a top 3 seed over halfway through the season, and that was despite some key injuries. Brandon Ingram missed a lot of the year, Zion missed some time, but they were still finding a way to maintain a rhythm. However, eventually the injuries continued to rack up. One or the other guy was out of the lineup consistently. A lot of their role players got hurt, and they ended up falling all the way down the standings to the play-in tournament, where ultimately they lose to Oklahoma City in that first play-in game and end up missing the playoffs. It really was a tale of two seasons where when they were healthy, they looked like a top 3-4 team in the West, and a lot of people were even debating, is this Pelicans team a championship contender? And then by the end of the season, it's a question of, is this team actually ever going to be healthy enough to maintain a sustained run? And coming into the season, that was kind of where I was at, because it felt like if they can keep Zion on the court, Ingram, I like a lot of their supporting pieces, this could be a sneaky top 4, 5, 6 playoff team. However, if they couldn't stay healthy, which had been the theme for them the past few seasons, it was likely they were going to be a play-in team, or maybe even in the lottery, because coming into the season, there were like 10, 11, maybe even up to 12 squads that felt like they could potentially push for one of those top 10 spots. So I think I predicted them to be like a 10 or an 11 seed or something like that, not because they weren't talented, but because I didn't think they'd stay healthy enough to maintain a level of success that was enough to keep up with the really tough Western Conference competition they were going to have to play most nights. But here we are nearing the halfway mark of the season, and the Pelicans have looked really good so far. Last night as I'm recording this, they beat the Kings badly. They won by 33 points, were up by 50 at one point in the fourth quarter without Zion, keep that in mind, and now they've won 5 out of their last 6 games, with their only loss coming to the Clippers, who've been destroying pretty much the entire NBA recently. I'm going to make a video about them again coming up here soon because they've been amazing. And at this point, the Pelicans are 22-15. They're currently tied with the Mavericks for the 6th seed and just a couple win percentage points behind the Kings at the 5 seed, as well as just a single game back behind those Clippers, who've made their way up to the 4 seed. So the Pelicans are right in the thick of a top 4, 5, 6 playoff race, like it felt like they could do if they stayed healthy. Currently, they've got the 6th best defense in the league, the 13th ranked offense, the 8th best net rating. They made it to the semifinals of the in-season tournament. Overall, they've just been really good so far, and I feel like nobody's talking about them at all. When I thought about making this video, I was like, oh, I'll go look up and see, how many other people are making Pelicans videos right now. It's pretty much nobody. Like, even in the national media, the only time the Pelicans really ever get attention is when somebody's trying to say that Zion is overweight or that he's not playing up to his standards, which he's been perfectly fine this season. We're going to talk about him in a moment, but overall, I just feel like this Pelicans team deserves a lot more love for the way they've been playing recently. I think they're a terrifying team that a top squad might have to face in the playoffs, and overall just have been way better than people are giving them credit for. So let's talk about what they've been doing well so far, and it all starts with their top 2 guys, Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. And none of these guys is having this big blowout statistical season, but they've been impacting the game at a high level. Starting off with Brandon Ingram, who's currently putting up 22.5 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, and 5.5 dimes on 50.2% shooting from the field, 35.4% from deep, and 81.6% from the line. It's the highest field goal percentage of his career. You do want to see his 3-point percentage come up a little bit because it's dropped off from last season, but at the same time, he's still been a monster offensively, mainly in the mid-range. He is one of the league's top mid-range talents. It doesn't matter who you put on him, how many guys you send at him, he's going to create space, he's just going to shoot right over you. He's a monster. He has one of the highest difficulties of mid-range jumpers according to B-Ball Index out of anybody out there, and he still knocks him down at one of the league's best clips. It's an invaluable weapon for a scorer to have, because a lot of today's defenses try to push guys off the 3-point line, keep them away from the basket, just shove guys towards that mid-range, and Brandon Ingram is one of the best in the league at destroying those defensive schemes. He's amazing, and I think you put him in a playoff setting like we saw against the Phoenix Suns a couple years ago, he's only going to elevate even further. Zion's also not putting up these ridiculous numbers, but has been pretty good, putting up 21.8 points per game, 6 rebounds, which are both the lowest marks of his career, 4.5 dimes, 1 steal, and 0.4 blocks on 58.2% shooting from the field, which is really efficient, but also the lowest mark of his career. A lot of this is because he's taking the lowest number of shots he's ever taken. He's just been more of a passive background connecting piece so far this season, which as you get closer to the playoffs, I do think they're probably going to need Zion to do a lot more for them if you want to take down some of the top teams in the West. But for the regular season, this is perfectly fine. They're finding a lot of success. He's been great as a connecting piece. There are still some nights where he's destroying everybody, like a few weeks ago against the Sixers, where he had a 30-piece on near perfect shooting. Zion is still capable of being a world-destroying force. They just don't really need him to do that on a nightly basis right now, now they make it through the regular season, and hopefully this will help him actually stay healthy by the time the playoffs roll around, which is of course when they need him the most. I've also really liked his defensive effort recently. He's never been a great defender. At the beginning of the season it was really bad, but it does feel like he's kind of put it together more consistently. I feel like he's a lot more locked in. He's making better rotations. Hopefully this continues to be the case, because a locked in two-way Zion is a terrifying thought for the rest of the league. So these two guys have been at the head of the snake, but like I said, it's been kind of a balanced offensive attack, and a big part of that has been CJ McCollum, who's in the midst of one of the better seasons of his career. He's putting up 19.5 points per game, 4.1 boards and 5 assists, 1.6 turnovers, which is not bad at all. That's down a full turnover pretty much from last season, which is great to see. And he's shooting 46% from the field and 44% from deep, which is the highest mark of his career, and he's shooting 7.8 attempts per game. He's been one of the league's best volume shooters this entire season, and kind of like with the Pelicans as a whole, I feel like not really anybody's talking about it. He's having a fantastic year, being a really good ball handler. He's knocking down shots consistently and giving Zion and Ingram elite spacing, which is exactly what they need as a star duo. And this team as a whole has just been really good shooting the basketball. The Pelicans have done a great job of putting spacing around Zion and Ingram, and it's been a big reason why they've been so successful. You've got guys like Valanciunas, who is having a solid season, 14, 9.7, and 2.3 with 1.2 blocks per game, and he's shooting 37% from deep. That's huge as a big man. Trey Murphy is again shooting the lights out, 14 points per game, shooting 40% from deep. I wish there was some way he could start consistently. Since he's been back, he's been amazing, and I feel like he's got true star potential. It's just hard when you have Zion and Ingram out there, as well as Herb Jones, who, with the way he's been playing, has to continue to start, because he's putting up 10 points per game while shooting 35.5% from deep, easily the best mark of his career. So he's actually knocking down threes right now, and he's doing it while playing some of the best perimeter defense in the entire league. He might be a top 5 perimeter defender in the entire association. Last night, he absolutely clamped De'Aaron Fox, was the primary defender for most of the game, and Fox went out there and had the worst game of his season. 3 points total, 1 of 10 shooting, 4 turnovers. Against one of the best guards in the league. Herb Jones is a special defensive player. The things that he's able to do, the way that he's able to frustrate and just get in the head of some of the league's top scoring guards on any given night is impressive, especially as a third-year player. You give him a few more years, Herb Jones might be in depoy talks at some point in his career. He's super special, and I don't think he gets enough love. When we talk about this top 6 ranked New Orleans Pelicans defense, Herb Jones is one of the biggest reasons why. You've also got guys like Dyson Daniels who are defending really well. Jose Alvarado is no longer just the hard-nosed defender that he's always been. He's now also knocking down his threes at a 38.4% clip. Larry Nance Jr. brings some toughness on that defensive end. You've still got more shooters like Jordan Hawkins, who is a rookie shooting 36.4% from deep. Matt Ryan, before his injury, was shooting 47% from 3. Najee Marshall hitting 38% of his shots. So pretty much they're just locking up and they're hitting threes, which is a fantastic recipe around Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson as your star players. They're top 6 in three-point percentage as a team. They force a lot of turnovers. They move the ball really well. This team is clicking right now. They found an identity that works. They're sticking to it, and it's gotten them a lot of success. They've got 2 stars who can destroy you, an elite third option in CJ McCollum right now, shooters all over the place, defenders, one of the deepest teams in the league when they stay healthy, and so far, they actually have stayed healthy, which is a terrifying thought for the rest of the league. With a team that has as much length and scoring ability as this Pelicans team, I wouldn't want to face them if I'm a top team in the playoffs. Like, this feels like a terrible matchup for a lot of different teams. If Herb Jones can slow down your best player and they get hot from 3, it's going to be really hard to beat the Pelicans consistently. A team like the Kings definitely doesn't want to face them because for some reason, the Pelicans have had the Kings number all season, just destroying them. I think there are a number of other top playoff teams that don't want to see this Pelicans team in a series. I just hope they stay healthy, because all of this kind of falls apart if they deal with more injuries, if Zion gets hurt, if Ingram does. I really hope that's not the case, because I think they could give one of the most entertaining playoff series in the entire Western Conference if they stay healthy, if they face one of those top teams. But then again, with the way they've been playing so far, they may be that top team that is facing one of those lower level seeds. I wouldn't be surprised if they kept rising up the standings with the way that they're finding their rhythm, especially if Zion cranks it up a notch, if Ingram gets a little bit more into rhythm, especially from deep. This team, I feel like, has only started to scratch the surface of their potential this season. You give them 50 more games, and hey, who knows how high up the standings this team can be and how scary they can look. Again, all depends on the healthiness, but so far, they've been healthy, so fingers crossed that stays the same. And I just hope people start talking about this Pelicans team. Again, the only time people really ever talk about them is when it comes to Zion. And yeah, there have been some weird reports and rumors that have come out about Zion over the past year or so, especially involving his contract, and it seems like him and New Orleans may not always be on the same page. Hopefully they are, because I really like him as a Pelican. I like how he and Ingram work as a duo, and I think this Pelicans team can do special stuff if they just stay on the same page, if they stay healthy, and maybe this is the season to do so. But at the very least, this is a really fun team to watch. Definitely make sure to go watch some of their games if you haven't, and hopefully more people start to talk about how good New Orleans is. With all that being said, I appreciate you all watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos, and let me know what your thoughts are on the Pelicans. How good are they? How far could they go up the standings? And if they stay healthy, big if, how far could they go in the playoffs this year? Also, as I'm recording this, I'm a couple of days away from going to Oklahoma City for the first time in a year. I go there about once a year to go see some Thunder games. I live on the East Coast, if you didn't know. So it's rare I get to go to Oklahoma City and see the team play. But I'm really excited. I'm going to be there for the Blazers game on Thursday, as well as the Magic game on Saturday. So just let you know if content comes out a bit slower over those days. If you see me filming in a hotel room, which I know I've done a couple of times recently, just keep that in mind. I'll probably pre-record some videos here as well before that, just to make sure y'all get a decent amount of content. But yeah, just kind of giving you some updates. Anyways, I appreciate y'all watching. As always, y'all support means the world to me. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.